Hey everyone, welcome to part 5 of the home buying timeline. I'm Mac, I'm the son.
And I'm Becca, the mom.
Last episode, we were able to discuss home inspections and appraisals. And we're gonna wrap up the series with the final 2 parts, which is finalizing the loan and then moving in and what comes after that. So let's just jump into finalizing the loan. So everything in the house has been working out. You figured out the appraisals, the home inspection is passed, and the loan needs to be finalized now. What's the process with that?
So the lender has collected at the very beginning, the lender collected all of your paperwork, your W-2s, your tax returns, whatever he needed to be able to qualify you for the home. Well, at the very end, they do a few things right at the very end. They pull your credit again to make sure that your credit is still good.
Because of the fact that at times you've run into the situation where somebody makes a big purchase with a loan or they get a new job.
Right. So they pull their credit again.
So don't do those things.
Exactly. Please, please, please. If you get anything from these episodes, do not change your job in the middle of a transaction. And don't go and buy something on crazy credit. I always joke with my people. I'm like, don't buy a pack of gum unless you call me first. Yeah. But yes. So what happens is at the very end, they kind of look at everything one last time. They call it underwriting. And lots of times the underwriter will catch, because they have to be very, very clean on their file, and they'll catch something even as little as a name difference on the contract or a lane instead of a street on the address. Like, they have to make sure they comb through everything. And if there's any last minute changes, we've got to do an addendum. Sometimes they'll ask the buyer for more documentation for something with work or something with their debt to income. Sometimes they're even collecting bills to pay at closing. So when they bring their down payment, they're actually paying off some of the debt so that the lender can approve their loan. So it's just all those little working pieces that the lender just really needs to make sure that it's solid for the end.
Right. And an addendum, what's that in like one sentence?
An addendum is just a piece of paperwork that the buyer and seller have to agree that that change is being made.
Oh, okay. And that
like
they're okay
they don't
with
have
that
to
change.
disclose necessarily everything, like paying off a car at this time or whatever, but they do have to disclose if there's anything that changes on the contract.
Yeah.
So for instance, then a name, sometimes they take a spouse off because their credit is hurting. For one reason or another, there's something in there that's hurting the transaction with that one spouse on there. So we'll remove the spouse from the contract, or we'll change it to street instead of lane, like whatever. It'll have to be documented.
So are there any other last minute like requests or hiccups that happen within finalizing the loan that the buyer or seller should both be aware of?
Not with finalizing the loan. I think I mentioned the majority of those things. Every once in a while, there's a couple hiccups with the house.
Yeah, maybe like before the approval of the loan, like what are some other common hiccups or?
Well, you've mentioned the top 2. Like if there's been something that's been charged crazy on a credit card, or they opened a new account at the furniture store because they're buying new furniture for their house, that could literally kill the transaction. So changing a job or buying something else using your credit or not having enough money to close at the end is really tough.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it could actually kill the sale.
So what are some ways that, the buyers can just make it the most smooth process possible for themselves?
Listen to their realtor, listen to their lender. Everything their lender says, I always tell my people, if they talk to you that day and ask you for something, it needs to be in their email within a few hours after.
Wow, okay.
Like, try really hard. I don't ever want the lender to be waiting for the buyer. The lender sometimes takes a few days to do things, but we don't ever want them waiting on us. We don't want them waiting on us for paperwork as realtors, and we don't want them waiting on the buyer to produce whatever the lender is asking for.
Just that way the loan can get accepted quickest so that they can move in.
Not just that, but like, time is of the essence. We have a contract for this date. If the buyer doesn't perform by that date, the seller can say, too bad, we're not extending the contract, and they can lose the house.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you finally get accepted for the loan and you're able to purchase your home through the offer that was accepted. what does moving day look like, and what are some of the
Mm.
final steps within this process?
This is my favorite time of the transaction, other than just meeting them for the first time. Being able to like see all of the hard work that they've put in by going and looking at homes, and the sleepless nights because they're worried about the inspection, or
Mm-hmm.
like all of the excitement and packing boxes and all that stuff. They finally get to sit down at the table and close on a home. And when we say close, it's essentially just signing paperwork that's for the loan. That's what you're doing, is signing paperwork for the loan.
Right.
The lender has a lot of like an hour's worth of signing
Mm,
sometimes. A lot of it's electronic now, but at the title company, they do need notarized signatures on some of those things.
gotcha.
And so sometimes it just takes a hot minute at the title company to get all those things signed. Um, but it's getting quicker with all those digital signatures these days. So that happens. And then once it's all signed by both the seller and the buyer, we have to wait for the lender to send their money. Once they wire their money to the title company can close on it and send it to record at the county.
Mm,
So we call that process funding and recording. Once it's completely recorded at the title company, that's the good news. The title company calls me. I get to give the good news to the buyer and say, hey, congratulations, or
mm-hmm.
the seller, hey, congratulations, the money should be in your account soon. Like all of those things, it's the best phone call ever. Then we make arrangements to meet for keys.
Right.
Yeah, which is my favorite part. That is seriously, it could be like the hardest transaction ever, but the minute I walk the keys to them and they get to open their door, that's just like so fulfilling to me. There's this one story I super, super love. Every time I think about handing the keys, um, there was this really cute couple, and they struggled finding the right home because they could barely afford like something in the
Mm-hmm.
area. They ended up buying on the numbered streets in Idaho Falls, this really teeny tiny house. And it was just like so quaint, but it was hard because they were FHA financing. And with that type of financing, it's hard to find a home in their price point.
Right.
And we had to work really, really hard. We even had to paint like some exterior paint on the house. Like it was hard work to get them closed up. But he had like this 4-year-old little boy. I can't remember his name. I wish I could remember his name. But he had this 4-year-old little boy, and I pulled up with the keys, and he ran to my car and he said, Becca, this is our new house. They were like at the house waiting on the front porch. And oh, it's my favorite thing, just to be able to see their dreams. I love that you use dream home,
Mm-hmm.
like, because it really is. It's just a dream come true for a lot of these people. Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the other things that are entailed? You've obviously explained kind of what closing day looks like.
Mhm.
Have you ever had, well, I guess on closing day still, have you ever had a situation where, you know, there is a problem with the contract signing?
Yes. Yeah, that's always super stressful. Sometimes it has to do with the final walkthrough. When we've
Mm,
done the final walkthrough right before closing, the buyer has the opportunity to walk through the home and make sure the repairs are done,
mm.
make sure the appliances were left that they said they were going to leave, all those things. And sometimes those things aren't done, or sometimes it's not clean to their
Oh,
standards.
wow.
And so we as realtors just kind of have to hustle really quick and figure out what that looks like for everyone. Like maybe they're giving them a gift card for cleaning, or,
Right.
the realtors hire the cleaner, or whatever it is to like make it work. So sometimes there's a few hiccups. We got to make sure that the utilities are turned into each other's names and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But usually not. That's very rare.
Yeah.
But it does happen every once in a while at the closing table. There'll be a little hiccup.
Wow. Closing day is a very stressful day, but also a super exciting day.
Mhm.
And then the process of moving in begins, and
Mhm.
people have to move in all their boxes and unpack. But what are some other things that buyers specifically should be aware of, or should do after they've started the move-in process?
Well, hopefully they've already changed their utilities over prior to closing. So I would say that's number one if they haven't done that. And then also, there's always going to be little things in the house that they're going to have questions for. So I would just keep their realtor's name on hand and just call their realtor. Their realtor's going to have really, really good contractors and stuff like that could help them.
If it's a good realtor, they should reach out over time to just check in.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just saw on Instagram last night, my new little home buyer a couple months ago, she had just finally got everything up on the wall.
Yeah.
And was showing what her pictures look like and stuff like that. And that's the fun part. So it's fun for me to reach out and be like, oh my gosh, how's everything else going? And she told me about like this little outlet they were having an issue with, but they got it fixed. And so it's just all those little things that come up that you want to still be communicating with them and making sure they're getting, their mail and they're getting, like, if they don't know how something works, sometimes that's a great question. If the inspector didn't go through it and I don't know how to do it, I can find them and find them someone that can help them with that.
Right. So obviously for some people, it's their first purchase of a home, and sometimes it's not, and there's their second purchase, but it may not be their forever home, right? And they may be anticipating moving in the future, or a new opportunity comes up that they weren't expecting that causes them to move, whatever it may be. There's all these different things. What are some things that a homeowner can do to set themselves up for success in the future, whether that's in the future for selling their home that they've been in, or preparing to purchase a new home? What can they do to help themselves?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like keeping their home in good repair is so important. I think especially people that have never owned a home before, they don't understand that you have to change your filters in your furnace, and that you should be checking on your water heater. And a lot of Idaho Falls had a lot of electrical water heaters that get hard water in them. You have to clean them out. Do you remember Dad doing that?
Yeah.
So just maintaining your home and making sure that you have good maintenance, so that when you go to sell, there's not going to be a ton of things for you to do, a ton of things for you to repair prior to selling.
Gotcha. Is there anything else that a home buyer should be aware of, or even a seller should be aware of within the closing day and, getting accepted for your loan, or just, getting settled into your home?
I think timing is everything. And so just kind of mapping out a timeline. I've had some sellers really have a hard time getting out in time for closing. They want a couple extra days, and that's just not a consideration typically. That buyer, when they get those keys, they want in.
Right.
They don't want to wait for you to move out, and it's not your home anymore. The liabilities are too strong. So yeah, I would just say, just make sure you're super planned and organized in your moving and your purchasing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to our home buying timeline series. We're super grateful that you were all able to join us, and we hope you enjoyed. We are really excited for what's to come, and we hope that these episodes have been really easy for you guys to, just digest and really take in. And we're trying to keep them as short as possible, just to make that an easier process. But with that being said, we'll see you at the next episode.